welcome to Fantasy Football Touchback Week 2. My name is Chris, that's my sister Megan, and we are here to bring you another wild week of fantasy football. I did pretty good in my fantasy league. How'd you do?
I did well too. Thanks, Justin Jefferson, for not playing hard.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get into our sleepers, our traps, and our lock picks from last week.
If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.
All right. To start off with, let's recap our sleepers by position. First off, Justin Fields had an amazing week last week. Third top quarterback in the league against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Completely caught a lot of people by surprise for the insiders, but if you were listening, we said that he should have had a good game. You can't forget, those dual threat quarterbacks are gold in PPR league. Alvin Kamara would have been fine if he did a little bit more than score a touchdown, but luckily he still was startable. Megan, talk about Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is my guy. I like him in Arizona. I think that he is not done. And he showed up in week 1 like we expected him to. So I'm really excited about to see what he does in the rest of the year.
I like that. One of my favorite guys. Can't forget about the rookies though. Tyler Warren and Cam Little, and they did their part. Tyler Warren was the number 1 target for Daniel Jones on his record-setting game, and Cam Little did not miss a kick. So go Jacksonville kicker. All right, let's go to that trap for the last week. This is where I kind of got trapped myself. Justin Herbert. You're supposed to run the ball, Jim. You're supposed to run the ball. And Jim Harbaugh.
Oh.
Between him and Greg Roman, his offensive coordinator, they're known for running the ball. They didn't run the ball. But they won, so good on you, Justin. Hopefully you guys weren't trapped as I thought you would be. Jalen Warren, Pittsburgh, would have been okay, but he scored a touchdown, so he kind of was an okay starter. But still, he did pretty much what I thought he was going to. Zay Flowers flew all over Buffalo because every time he touched the ball, it was just a long reception. And Darren Waller, Tyler Bass, both didn't play. So it was a trap. And finally, our locks from last week. I'm glad that our locks turned out to be okay. Baker Mayfield, absolute lock again from Tampa Bay against Atlanta, did exactly what he needed to do. They were down in the 4th quarter, so he's throwing the ball left and right and was a significant producer in last week. Marion Hampton, unfortunately, because I thought they were going to run the ball, did not run the ball very well in the Chiefs game. Megan, what happened to Jamar Chase?
No one knows what happened to Jamar Chase. Week 1 jitters. I don't know. Maybe everybody being excited for him to play. He didn't show up. He didn't play like he should have, or he was expected to. Like hopefully week 2, but who knows?
Joe Burrow needs to get him the ball because he is a lock every single week, just like Sam Laporta is becoming a lock every single week for the Detroit Lions. That is the guy that they are relying on more than anyone else. That's Amon St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Sam Laporta is Jared Goff's guy. Chase McLaughlin, he hit a couple, missed a couple. We're just going to kick him out of the Kickers Club and let him just sit and wait until he decides he wants to kick correctly. And Denver being the number 1 defense in the league, so we absolutely crushed that. So we got about half and half, I'd say. Close enough to it. But let's go ahead and start off with the next matchups. First up is going to be Green Bay. Make sure to like and subscribe now.
Green Bay is at home against the Washington Commanders. Last week, Green Bay had 4 sacks for 25 yards and an interception. This last week too, Daniels had less than a 65% completion rate. Based on the way that the Commanders played last week, I wouldn't take anybody from the Commanders team. Their defense didn't do terrible, but they're also not the best in the league. And I would probably only consider Jordan Love or Romeo Dobbs from Green Bay.
Yeah, I kind of like Debo Samuel in this matchup, having that running and that receiving aspect, how they're using him. But I completely agree. Washington's got to have a hard time against this Green Bay defense. Shall we go to Cincinnati?
Sure.
The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are at the Paycor Stadium. Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, all of them, they're going to want to actually do something that they didn't do last week against the Browns. Score. Put up the points that we're so used to them doing. They need to show us why they are a playoff team, maybe even a Super Bowl team. Trevor Lawrence, come on, sunshine, let's do something. You got to complete that ball in order to go. And if you can't do it against Carolina, what makes you think you're going to do it against the Cincinnati Bengals? Travis Hunter's supposed to play a little bit more defense, so let's go ahead and see how that affects his offense. Maybe even Travis Etienne's going to be able to run some, but no, this is all Cincinnati this week. What do you think, Meg?
Yeah, I feel like Cincinnati's going to win this game based off of Jacksonville's performance last week. You know, I like some of the players on Jacksonville, but I'm probably going to go with Cincinnati offense to win this game.
I completely agree. All right, let's go to Dallas.
Raise your hand if you expected the New York Giants to show up last week. Yeah, me either. Even against the Commanders, Russell Wilson didn't really show up, you know? Like, we were kind of hoping that a new place would give him a little bit of purpose,
Juice,
and he only went 17 of 37 passing yards. You know, I really want to root for him, but I can't find the silver lining here with him. Dable's saying that Wilson's going to play this week, but I still probably not going to start him. Cowboys, even without Micah Parsons, they did okay. You know, they were able to do well last week, and I felt like CeeDee Lamb showed up like he was expected to. Dak actually played a little bit. I would definitely start both of those guys if you have them on your leagues. George Pickens kind of sounding like he has the injury bug a little bit. Probably not going to see too much. But we'll see if he rallies and is able to play this week. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I think you're absolutely spot on with all the Dallas takes. The one person that I would go ahead and say a little bit even more is Jake Ferguson. He has been a target machine for Dak Prescott in the past, and it kind of looks like with the 7 targets that he hauled in, he should be able to get to those numbers that we want him to do. As for New York, I completely agree. Russell Wilson's just there's nothing. There's no juice.
Can't.
So I'm really worried about Malik Neighbors in these kind of matchups. Until we see Jackson Dart, I don't think Malik Neighbors is going to do much for anybody. So Dallas all the way in this game. What do you think? Should we go to Detroit?
Have fun.
Chicago versus Detroit. An age-old rivalry that had disappointing weeks last week. Caleb Williams came out flying, going 10 for 10 on all of his passes. DeAndre Swift, he was able to catch a couple, run a couple, had a pretty decent game. DJ Moore was a recipient of some of those 10. And the tight ends, they were back and forth. Cole Kmet had an outstanding catch. Unfortunately, they stopped playing after the half. Detroit, they could not get out of their own way. So this week, I expect Detroit to come out roaring, as it were, and completely just try to smash the Chicago Bears. And to show Ben Johnson, hey, we don't need you. Our offense is fine. But on the other side, you got Ben Johnson, who's going to want to show Detroit that, yeah, you need me. Sorry. And That's where it's going to come down to. Old coaches, new places, rivalry game. You can't beat it. What do you think, Megan?
I want to see Chicago have a little bit more variety in their plays. I feel like it was just the exact same thing over and over again, and Troy and Minnesota was able to figure it out really, really quick and came away with the comeback, after the second half. So I think that Chicago has a good team there. They have a lot of potential, but when you're running the exact same play over and over again and making it really, really easy for the other team to combat it, then you're not going to do well. So, Chicago, do better.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Chicago, he's going to want Ben Johnson's going to want to put in that creativity. So I completely agree with you on that aspect. All right, let's go ahead and head to Tennessee.
The Rams are headed to Nashville for week 2. Tennessee is kind of a sleeper for me this year. I was really interested to see um their abilities last week. Cam Ward did really, really well, and he used both Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley like you would expect him to. I also really like Joey Sly at kicker. He was consistent at 50 yards or less, which is what you want to see if you're not relying on your kicker, as you should not be. And that's all we saw last week, so 100% less than 50 yards, pretty much great. So we'll see what he does in the future.
Yeah.
From the other side, the Rams, Matt Stafford, I feel like he needs to show off who he is, like this is who he's not showing off the way we've seen him play in the past. And he has a lot of good targets here that he really needs to pick up on. So while I think the Rams should win this game against Tennessee, they just have a lot better of a team. I feel like you want to pick Tennessee players over Los Angeles players here.
I can see what you said. I'm kind of surprised you said Tennessee over Los Angeles because Tennessee's defense just doesn't scare me. There's nothing about Tennessee that does scare me. Yes, Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley have some kind of rapport there, but Tony Pollard as well is. There's nothing scary about them. I think Matthew Stafford, after the injury, his back injury, absolutely is an issue. But you're right, the wide receivers are there. So I'm not sure. I'm not really scared by Tennessee. I think I'd pick Los Angeles over Tennessee.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm scared by Tennessee either. I was saying more that when you're looking from a fantasy perspective and the individual contributions of these players, there's no target that he just loves. He just kind of threw it all the way out there, and it's not something that you can see. And if Tennessee's not going to have a great defense, then he's probably going to do the same thing again, where he's just all over the place. So I do expect Los Angeles to win this game, but I don't expect it to be Los Angeles or Matt's going to find Puka Nacua the entire time, and it's just going to be a Puka Nacua show, right? So I'm not saying that don't pick Los Angeles if you're betting, but I'm saying that you're probably going to do better from a Tennessee a positional perspective.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from now. Yeah, I can see that he's going to spread it around, so you don't want to start anybody unless you absolutely have to, which you don't need to just yet on the Los Angeles side. I completely understand from that point of view. All right, let's go ahead and head to Miami and see what they're up to. New England versus Miami. Two teams trying to find their way. Two coaches, one trying to create a culture, and another that doesn't know what culture is. Kind of. I don't know.
And a coach that doesn't want to
Yeah,
coach.
I mean that I don't know how to describe Mike McDaniels. It just doesn't make any sense on how his style is. His press conferences are all over the place. The players are arguing with each other already. It's week 1. It is week 1. So I don't like Miami at all right now. But again, New England always struggles against Miami. So playing in Miami in September, I just don't want to do. Can Drake May be able to do something? He kind of hooked up with Steph Diggs and Demario Douglas last week, but he didn't really do all that much. So, I mean, they're both two teams that lost, and we'll see who can go ahead and come out with it. Megan?
Yeah, you said everything that I was going to say. Stephon Diggs is not doing what they were expecting him to do, coming off that injury, but, he should be a good player, and we haven't seen as good as he was in Buffalo. So we'll see on him. But yeah, I didn't really have anything else to say on the rest of the
Stephon
players
Diggs
for the
with
teams.
that injury. It's gonna be slow. All right, headed to New Orleans.
Against the San Francisco 49ers, who have been hit with the injury bug extremely early. As expected, Christian McCaffrey, kind of day to day. Brock Purdy, kind of day to day. I'm not surprised. I kind of expected this to happen. Christian McCaffrey is known for being injured the majority of his career. They did win a close match against the Seahawks last week, but with Brock Purdy hurting and not really having much of a target to throw to or hand off to, I don't know that I really would take any of those players on this team. I feel like Brian Robinson still has yet to show me what he can do here, and I feel like New Orleans defense is jumpy. They're not really a good team to watch from a defensive perspective. So I expect San Francisco to win. I don't know what I expect from who's going to play, but I think that they're going to win just because New Orleans is not really showing up this year. Alvin Kamara
He scored a
should
touchdown.
do well, but I mean, I feel like he's
No.
like, again, I'm just waiting for New Orleans to show off, kind of like these teams this year. I understand it's week 2, but it's just I have high expectations, and they're not being met, and I need them to be met so that
I
I
completely
can
understand.
sing their
Yeah,
praises.
New Orleans, they didn't really do a whole lot last week, did they? Granted, your boy Chris Olave, he absolutely pulled in everything, and he scored real high this last week, so great pickup there. But Alvin Kamara, all he did was score a touchdown, and that's the only reason why he was startable last week. Spencer Rattler, he is a rookie, but not really a rookie because it's his second year. But this is the first real playing time that he has. The one thing that I just saw a text, Schefter is posting that Brock Purdy is not expected to start this week. So that means that it'd be Mac Jones lining up in San Francisco.
Yeah. So if you have George Kittle, put him in IR.
I mean that's
pick
a
up
good
Jake
point.
Tongs.
George Kittle as well went on IR, so we can only do so much with that kind of thing. So yeah, it's if you don't want Jake Tongs and because you don't want the San Francisco, pick up Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson.
Juwan Jennings can't go into the
Jennings, no, but Juwan Johnson.
No.
Flex.
No, I know. Flex.
This is the
versus
week of
tight
flex. You don't know, but one flex position, week of flex. All right, let's go to New Jersey. Oh, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. I'm gonna try not to be a homer here.
Take off your hat.
I'm gonna try. Can't do it. Buffalo. They did outstanding last week. Everybody knows the game. Fourth quarter comeback. Josh Allen. Never sit him. Ever. Yeah, just can't. He's that good. He's that good.
What about on his bye week?
I mean, I think he got engaged on last year's bye week. So, I mean, the man scores every single time. But that's besides the point. James Cook Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, and Matt Prater, who came in last minute. Just
100%.
it's one of those things where it's incredible. And Keon Coleman was a surprise of last week's game for me because he had the most targets and he had over 100 yards. Would have even scored a touchdown if they didn't trip him up at the very end. But Justin Fields was the number 3 quarterback in the league last year in fantasy points. That dual threat quarterback, they're always PPR gold. Paired that with Garrett Wilson, I mean, you're going to have that reliable receiver. I just, if it wasn't being played in New Jersey, I think I'd be Buffalo hands down. But Josh Allen always struggles in New Jersey against that crowd. So we're really going to have to see. What else do you think, Megan?
I love Dalton Kincaid. I just personally love him very much. Um, and I was really excited to see him do well in this game or the week 1 game. And I'm hoping that we get away from third and Kincaid and use him a little bit more throughout the game rather than just making him only at that time. Because he did well and he is happy to be there and he's always has a smile on his face and you like to see that. From New York, from the Jets' perspective, I really want to see Justin Fields do well. I think that he he's still a baby. He still is trying to figure himself out and trying to, you know, deal with this new team, but he has some great targets here, and I think that if he gets comfortable, then he would do well. So don't drop the New York offense yet,
Oh, I
but
completely
I
agree.
still think Buffalo's
But
going to win this game.
we'll see. The one thing I did want to say is Brees Hall. He's not Derrick Henry, but he can absolutely find those holes if Buffalo doesn't close them up with that defense. So, now let's go ahead and head to Pittsburgh. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle had a really good game last week against San Francisco. Unfortunately, they lost, but I'll tell you what, Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba is absolutely they're hooking up. So you can tell his time with Justin Jefferson, fantastic. Cooper Kupp, I even think, got a couple catches in that game as well. But it doesn't compare to the surprise of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers having a resurgence. Apparently, him and DK Metcalf after that first pass that he dropped, they were hooking up all day long, throwing it left and right. I mean, the Jets could not stop them. So Aaron Rodgers, if is another player, excuse me, that if he is still on free agency, you probably want to get him stashed if you haven't already. Jalen Warren should have a decent game, but again, the big names here are going to be Sam Darnold and JSN, as well as Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. What did you think,
Def-
Mike?
Definitely DK Metcalf. I was very surprised that he did as well as he did. The man is a player. He really knows what he's doing, and with a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he's doing what you expect him to do or expected him to do in previous years. So I definitely would make sure you have DK Metcalf starting if you have him on your league or if he possibly is available still to pick him up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's head to Baltimore.
Well, I feel like you already spoke about the Bills game, and I don't want to rehash all of that, except to say that the Bills could not stop Derrick Henry. It was just not possible. The man is like a bulldozer, and it's difficult for any team, including the Bills, to be able to keep him from catching that ball or catching the ball from receiving the ball. Um, he's just one of those guys that he's going to go until that field runs out. I expected more out of Zay Flowers than I saw. We really only saw him with that one touchdown pass, and it seems like he put up great numbers, but he wasn't the star that, you know, the the league expected him to be. I know we had him on our sleepers or whatever we had him on last week. as not really expecting him to do much, but we'll see if he does well against the Cleveland Browns this week. The Cleveland Browns are at home, so they have the home field advantage and all of those great fans there in Cleveland, but they also have Joe Flacco. And if you've spent any time watching Joe Flacco, you know that anytime he gets a chance to play against the Ravens, he shows up. And he wants to prove that the Ravens shouldn't have let him go all those years ago, and he wants to do well against his old team. He's not the spring chicken he used to be, but I wouldn't count him out for this game at all. And then the Browns also have Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver now. He's ranked third wide receiver overall according to ESPN. So he's doing well and he's really making himself known in uh Cleveland. But we'll see if he makes some points that way. What do
Yeah,
you think, Chris?
him and Joe Flacco have absolutely built a chemistry. You can tell. And you're right, Zay Flowers. He wasn't getting the receptions that we thought they would be getting, but the biggest thing with him was that every reception he had, he took it a distance. He took it for 20, 30 yards, and so that's why his numbers are inflated. The one thing about Baltimore, Mark Andrews got one catch in that last game, which is really surprising to me. This is also about all the kickers. Andre Schmidt, he missed a few. If he misses any more, Cleveland's probably going to jettison him. But Luke, there it is. And there he was, except for that one extra point that unfortunately cost him the game. So let's go ahead and head to Indianapolis now against the Denver Broncos. And this is really a Bo Nix game. Let's see if Bo Nix can not turn the ball over. Period. If he cannot turn the ball over, then Denver should not have an issue with this. Daniel Jones, I said surprised with Aaron Rodgers. Daniel Jones was the only quarterback until Josh Allen to score 4 touchdowns. But for Daniel Jones, that was extremely surprising. I got a perfect analogy for Daniel Jones, Megan.
I want to hear it.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Why?
Because hot, cold, he gets that big contract, and then all of a sudden he just kind of falls off the face of the earth. But he plays really well, gets the big contract, and then falls off the place. And I love Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I loved watching him play, but he was so frustrating at times. So the Indianapolis Colts, it is an up and down. I would go ahead and leave him in free agency at the moment. I'm sure someone has grabbed him already in your league. Maybe it was you, but I probably would have left him in free agency. I need to see him do it again. Jonathan Taylor,
Maybe grow that beard.
yeah, maybe. That probably would give him some good luck. Such a baby face.
I know.
But Jonathan Taylor, absolutely killer running back, but maybe not this game. We'll see. It should be really.
Maybe not this year.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. It really depends on those matchups. But you're right. It'll be a player to absolutely watch. But my biggest people, like I said, turnovers. That's going to be our killer in this game. So that's kind of how I feel this game. What about you?
Yeah, kind of in the same place. Daniel Jones is about where I expect him to be as far as production wise. I didn't really love him in New York, and I felt like he needed to grow up a little bit. And he goes to Indianapolis, and kind of feels like Indianapolis is becoming a place where quarterbacks go to die. So we'll see. Like maybe he can show up and do well. He doesn't have terrible receivers that he's he's looking at. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Bo Nix is much better than I expected him to be this year, and I really expect Denver to win this game.
As long as they can keep those turnovers on the offense to a minimum, then the defense should take care of it, no problem. All right. Arizona, I believe, is where we're going next.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Against the Carolina Panthers.
Go ahead.
I have four words for you. You ready?
Yep.
Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison. Okay, 5. Junior.
All right.
The two have established such a great relationship already, and as we can go further into the year, I feel like those deep balls that we are used to seeing from Marvin Harrison are going to be even better. The more that they build that trust and the team allows them to do that, we're going to see them connect um, more often and some of those really, really great plays.
Yeah, I completely agree. Kyler Murray, he's known for that Hail Marys and the that long ball and all that kind of stuff, and that's what Marvin Harrison uh completely was all about in college. So we really need to see him, but I'm glad to see that he's getting those 10, 12, 15 touches to start off the year. That's something they didn't have last year. But
It's true.
James Conner also, I'm excited to see that his wheels still keep on turning. I thought for sure Benson was gonna outtake him this year, but no, they're hanging it with Connor and McBride. Arizona has a pretty decent team, which again, if you look at their division, I mean Arizona's probably going to be first or second in it. They're going to absolutely be fighting off the Rams. I have a feeling. What about Carolina? You like anybody over there?
You know, their game against Jacksonville was really lackluster, and it's kind of what you expect about from both teams. You know, they're still trying to feel out what they're doing this year. You know, they don't really know, and I feel like that's what their previous years have been too, where you kind of just watch them and like maybe they're going to play, but not not really expecting them to do much. That I'm gonna try his name. Ready?
Mhm.
Teteroa McMillan is a great target
Yeah,
in Carolina,
I like him
and
a lot.
hopefully they continue to use him and um, can can really um, bring him up and make him a great a player in the league. He led the team in targets and catches and receiving yards for the game against Jacksonville. And, you know, he's 93.8% uh, taken in
Mhm.
ESPN leagues already. But
Yep.
if you can set up a trade or possibly not already taken in your league, then I definitely recommend getting him on your team.
Yeah. He is one of those franchise gold players that if you have a franchise league or a dynasty league, that he is someone that you should absolutely be having a watch list on because as soon as Carolina starts to falter, because eventually they will start to sell low, and it's a high risk or low risk, high reward player. So I completely agree with you there. All right, let's go ahead and get our last few games here going on. We have the Philadelphia Eagles going to Kansas City.
Super Bowl rematch.
Super Bowl rematch. Exactly. Philadelphia and Kansas City. Like you said, Super Bowl rematch. You have a lot of things in the air. Kansas City kind of, I'm sure, want to figure out what they're going to do um, with this new look offense since they don't no longer have Xavier Worthy, or they're not expected to have Xavier Worthy this week. They haven't ruled him out yet, but um, he's probably not starting, guys. And even if he is the decoy. So Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be getting a lot more look. But Philadelphia, they have their full defense as long as no one spits on anybody. So let's go ahead and see what the Kansas City crowd's going to allow them to do. Isaiah Pacheco, I honestly think it's going to be a lot of short games. So lots of targets, low amounts of yards, but that's a PPR's dream. You're going to have shovel pass, you're going to have screens because it's not, you're getting that point for those catches. So Pacheco is someone I would focus on. Not really a Patrick Mahomes game. So I would say if you have a better matchup with your other quarterback, go with that other quarterback because I don't think I would start Patrick Mahomes in this game. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, absolutely start Jalen Hurts in this game. I expect AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to go off. Dallas Goddard is dealing with a knee sprain, so probably don't need to worry about that. But overall, there is just a entire group of Kansas City players that you're just not going to look into. Now I'm showing that I have a Tyler Warren there. He is not on the Kansas City Chiefs. He is on the Indianapolis Colts. So that it's supposed to be Travis Kelce. again, if you have
It could,
Travis, yeah,
if it's
eventually
not
he might. If we want him to have a Tyler Warren type game, so we're just gonna go with it from that point of view. But other than that, Megan, you have anything for this game?
I was gonna mention Hollywood Brown.
Okay,
I thought that Hollywood Brown did better than expected in last week's game.
I think they were
Um,
desperate. Yeah.
well, they didn't know what they were gonna do. Their entire game was based off of what Xavier Worthy was supposed to do, and then Travis Kelsey potentially did it on purpose. What I'm hearing from the conspiracies, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Hollywood Brown have a game this week. I agree with you that Patrick Mahomes is probably not your guy, um, and we'll see. You know what they're able to do.
Let's go ahead and head to Sunday Night Football in Minnesota.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings were against the Chicago Bears for Monday Night Football this last week, and that was another game to
Time,
watch.
time.
A unbelievable game. You know, you kind of saw the Bears trying to do their best, and you know what the Vikings did what the Vikings do, and they were able to come away with that win at the very end of the game, or the last quarter at least. I still feel like JJ McCarthy has a deer in headlights look to him. You know, he kind of gets the ball and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He either has too much availability, like he did in the Chicago game, or he just wants to hang on to it. And I think that's just that young quarterback behavior potentially. And I think that when you're up against a team like the Falcons, you don't necessarily want to have a young quarterback mentality, but we'll see, you know. Um, Also on the Vikings, I feel like Aaron Jones Sr. was technically the starting running back, but you also might want to take a look at Jordan Mason, who did really, really well against the Bears this last week.
Mhm.
So I would look to see potentially Jordan Mason taking over as that starting running back for the Vikings. Atlanta, you know, Michael Penix is kind of my newcomer that I'm really, really excited about, and I really want to see what he can do. Bijan Robinson, I'm still waiting for him to be the guy that I wanted him to be. Drake London is injured, expected to play, but is injured and may not have as many starts as he
What's
was.
he injured with?
I think a knee.
Okay.
I think that's what I read. Um, but yeah, I that was something that I wasn't expecting. I don't remember seeing that in the game, but
Yeah.
they were talking about how he's expected to play, but that he is
Limited.
cradling this, yeah,
Okay.
this injury. Um, yeah, so Kyle Pitts, I would avoid. I can't even say his name. Young Koo,
Young Wei Koo. Yeah.
Young Wei Koo. I you know we kind of were hopeful, but I just don't see him being the kicker that Atlanta needs right now. So, you know, I feel like
Probably the
we've
one
said
they
this.
deserve, but the one they
Well,
need.
I mean, yeah. So from an Atlanta perspective, Michael Penix, maybe Kyle Pitts. I'd avoid their defense. You know, they have a brand new defensive coordinator over there in Atlanta, and they're just trying to get their feelers out and trying to be a good defense, but it's brand new, and you know, against Minnesota, probably not going to be a good game for them. Um, yeah, what do you think?
I completely am going to agree with you with the JJ McCarthy. Here in the headlights, new kid, just like that Spencer Rattler. He's not technically not a rookie, but he's a rookie.
Right.
And so that's luckily he has Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the game, as his number one. And so I think that that's it's very good for him to have that outlet. But I think this if Minnesota's going to come out with a win in this game, I think it is going to be through that running game. With Jones and you said the other guy's name was Mason.
Yes,
Okay,
Jordan Mason.
so yeah, I think Mason he's the speed guy. Aaron Jones is the hammer. So I think if they can dual running back that thing, Minnesota might have a chance. But don't forget Bijan Robinson, man. He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. and he reminds me a lot of Marshawn Lynch. I mean,
Oh.
he beast modes really, really. But yeah, that is a lot longer than I thought we were gonna spend on Minnesota and Atlanta. I like bam bam with that one, but that's fantastic. All right. What's special about this week? We have two Monday night games. So let's go to the first one in Houston. Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield played really well. Mike Evans played really well. And Mika Egbuka is a league favorite now.
Yeah.
Chase McLaughlin made me look like silly because I said he's absolutely they're in a dome. He'll hit all of them, and he missed two kicks. So we're just gonna say take a breather, kick him out of the kickers club for a little bit, and then says when he earns his spot, he can come back in. Houston, Nick Chubb, the legs are starting to come back to him. You can see he's not as dynamic as he used to be, but the legs are starting to come back. And C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, they have that, but that is and Dalton Schultz, they all have that chemistry. But those are that's the passing game, guys. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz. That's it. Um, the biggest issue with Houston, that's always been the biggest issue with Houston, is the offensive line. And if they can't block, then you're not going to get any points. So, what they're going to do, they're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And if they can't break it, then you're going to expect a lot of crossing patterns. But that's kind of what Tampa Bay is all about defending. They play that Tampa 2. They like to stack their big uglies up front and then just stop the run. And they dare people to throw against them. So Tampa Bay has a really good matchup here. I think Baker's going to do well. I think because Evans is going to be pulling all the defensive attention, and I think Abuka is going to absolutely just have a killer. What about you, Meg? What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing about Igbuka. We don't have a lot of experience with him yet, right? So we're not quite sure what he's capable of, and for the other teams that are playing against him, they're they're going to kind of struggle too. Um, I feel like CJ Stroud might be okay with this offensive line. You know, he's a fast mover and he really likes to make his decisions real quick and get the ball out there or to take it himself. And so I think that Houston might do well. I have Houston in this week against Tampa Bay. So
Okay,
we'll see.
we will see. Absolutely. All right, one more game in Vegas.
Division rivalry. So with all of the AFC West teams, they all are kind of looking at this Kansas City team and going, what happened to this team? Like they've been in the shadows for the last couple of years, and all of a sudden Kansas City is not doing well and Kansas City is falling apart. And I feel like every single other AFC US team is trying to be first and trying to be like, well, no, I'm gonna take over and be um the best in the AFC West. I don't know that either of these two teams are going to be it. I kind of think that the Broncos might take over, but you know, it's a division rivalry. They're going to go against each other and do the best that they can, and you know, we'll see. Both these teams won in week 1. And we saw the Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. Granted, they were in Brazil and, you know, you kind of consider that to be a wash anyway, but I wasn't upset with the way that the Chargers played. You know, Lad McConkey has always been somebody that I um look to and really am looking forward to seeing him get better as he plays more. Justin Herbert, we'll see. You know, I feel like he faltered a little bit than where he shouldn't have against the Chiefs last week. Um, and then Dicker the kicker. You know, we love Dicker the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, out there in the in Chargers land. From the Las Vegas side, we have Geno Smith, who you know, coming from that older quarterback mentality, you know, he did well last week, and being underneath Pete Carroll now, I really feel like the two of them are going to connect and potentially bring the Raiders um, a win this week. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on Brock Bowers. There was a pretty significant injury last week in New England, and he's saying he's going to play and he really wants to play against the Chargers, but I'm not sure that I would start him just to be on the safe side, or at least make it a game day decision. Just because we don't know and we're still so far out from practice and that sort of thing. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, with the Brock Bowers injury, he's saying that he wants to play. He's gonna play. And when you're the leading tight end from last week, that's kind of you really wanted to play. But I think Vegas, if they're gonna win, they have to lean on Ashton Genty.
Mm.
That kid he's outstanding, and he's dynamic. So just when he has his welcome to the NFL moment, people are going to be shocked. But I also, like I said last week, I think Hampton has a few tricks up his sleeves as well. So I think this might be a running back type game, and everybody's just gonna do a lot of running. But we'll see how it
Well,
goes.
they're
So
almost at altitude in
almost,
Vegas, so
almost.
running is probably not a good idea, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, they're professional football players, and I like the kickers. Both kickers should have a good game. Both teams should have plenty of chances. All right, when we go back, we will finish up with our quick sleepers, traps, and what's the thing called? Sleepers, traps, and locks. That's what it's called.
Locks.
Sorry, it has been a very long day. Sleepers, traps, and locks when we come back. All right, guys. So this week's sleepers, what do we got, Megan?
I feel like we've already talked about these. My big ones were Michael Penix Jr. and Jake Tongs with Kittle being out with a hamstring. Um, yeah, I feel like all of them are going to be somebody that you want to get on your team and make sure that you're using them.
Yeah, absolutely. Fairly deep sleeper list this week, which then always will bring us to those trap players. And Jaden Daniels, that matchup, it's sneaky difficult, guys. And the Travis Kelsey, because I don't think he's going to be like Tyler Warren, as we said earlier. So that I would stay away from those matchups in general. But for our locks, I think, like we said, Kyler Murray should have an excellent game against Carolina. Derrick Henry showed why he is the king. Portland Sutton, number one guy for Bo Nix. If Bo Nix is going to turn it around this week, he's going to rely on Cortland Sutton. Dallas, we said Megan said that Dak Prescott should have that really big passing game. And of course, Cam Little and the Rams defense, they should be very, very. But that's our picks. Those are our locks. That's our sleepers. That is our show.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe and leave comments about how you think that our picks match up against yours. And, Chris, next week is going to be a surprise show for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little different.
A little.
The look is gonna be actually a lot different. Um, did you want to tell them why?
Yeah, for sure. Chris and I are going to be together next week because we are going to the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins in the Buffalo Bills Stadium. So look for us on the Thursday night football game and uh, listen to the podcast before.
Yeah. So we'll be sitting right by that tunnel. So go ahead and keep an eye out for us. We will have a show up next week. It's going to be very low production, but it's going to be a lot of fun because Megan and I being together is always absolute. So, like we say, nobody circles the wagons like CTW. See you next week.
Have a good night.
Thanks.